I'm going to show you how to do local SEO with only 1 hour per week. And to achieve this goal, you're going to have to be very strategic with your time. And that means you'll need to invest in software and people to create leverage. So with that said, you'll be able to execute what I'm about to show you in about 20 weeks as long as you commit to 1 hour per week. So please like this video to show me you're excited, and let's get right into it. So week number 1 will have the most tasks by volume, but it won't take more than 60 minutes. The first step is to schedule a weekly SEO meeting, and this is critical for accountability and remaining agile during your SEO campaign. So just pick a day and create a recurring event every single week. Next, install Google Analytics 4 and Google Search Console, which shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. And these two platforms will allow you to track organic search performance. Next, create a Google folder and an SEO dashboard for managing your campaign. And now it's time to export your existing keywords. So open up SEMrush, enter your domain, and go to organic research. Click on positions and export. Now add these keywords to your SEO dashboard and add another column and label it as opportunity. Then right click on the first cell and create a drop down. In the drop down, add the following: low-hanging fruits, existing, clustering opportunities, and untapped. Then drag the cell down for your entire keyword set. And now it's time to categorize your keywords. Any keywords ranking from positions 2 to number 15 are what I call low-hanging fruits. Number 16 to 50 are existing keywords, and 51 through 100 are what I call clustering opportunities. It should look like this after you're done. And the next step in week number 1 is to extract new keywords from your competitors. So go back to SEMrush and go to the keyword gap tool, enter 2 or 3 primary competitors. And if you're not sure, SEMrush will suggest domains that have similar keywords. However, I recommend going to the keyword overview tool and doing additional research if you aren't sure. And once your competitors are in place, start the keyword gap analysis. Then go down and click on the untapped tab, which are keywords that your competitors are ranking for, but your domain is not. Then I recommend playing with the filters to narrow the list. For example, go to position, competitors, and click on top 10. Then change the search volume to a minimum of 100, then change the KD to a maximum of 49. And finally, filter by intent to only show informational, commercial, and transactional keywords. Now export these keywords and add them to your keyword database and label them as untapped. And the final task for week number 1 is to identify your top 100 keywords. So let me start by saying I use 8 different data points to prioritize keywords within my keyword research process that I teach within Gotcha SEO Academy, because this is the most important step of the process. Do it wrong and you'll waste time and money trying to rank for the wrong keywords. And if you're interested in my complete keyword research system, then apply for Gotcha SEO Academy. But let me show you a simplified version that'll still help you make better keyword selection decisions. First, always begin with relevance. Ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 5, how relevant is this keyword to my core offer? For example, SEO Training Denver would score a 5 out of 5 for my business because we sell SEO training. But a keyword like paper form would score a 2 out of 5 because it wouldn't drive highly relevant traffic that has a high probability of converting. So just by using this criteria alone, you'll be able to filter through many of your keywords. However, I also recommend only looking at low competition opportunities first, typically with a KD less than 30. Now lastly, you should prioritize keywords with commercial or transactional intent. Informational keywords have their place, but they shouldn't be your priority. In fact, informational keywords should be viewed as a means for building topic authority, driving brand awareness, and for supporting your bottom of the funnel keywords. Don't get seduced by search volume. Prioritize keywords that are high value for your business, meaning they're highly relevant to your products and services and have clear commercial intent. And now it's time for week number 2, and you should also continue to invest at least 10 minutes into identifying your top 100 keywords if you didn't finish last week. But once that's done, it's time to start the SEO content creation process. You're going to generate 30 total content optimizer reports with rankability. And for the first 15, you'll create reports for existing keywords. Open the rankability content optimizer, click on multiple, then paste a keyword and the URL to make sure they're in the same row. Once you've added 15, start the optimizer. Now refresh the page and click multiple again, except this time only add keywords that are untapped, meaning you don't have a dedicated page that targets the keyword phrase. Just paste the keywords and run the optimizer. We'll be revisiting these reports soon, but that's it for week number 2. Now for week number 3, you'll optimize your Google business profile. Here's how. Okay, so there are only really a few big ranking factors in the local pack. Number 1 is your actual physical location. So if you're trying to rank in St. Louis, you should have an address in St. Louis. Okay, it's as simple as that. And if you don't get that right, nothing else is really going to matter, because at the end of the day, Google is really, really good at showing these hyper-focused results. So if I had an address in Chesterfield, the likelihood that I could rank in St. Louis is basically 0%. Okay, so you got to have an address there, and if you don't, then you got to figure out a way to get an address in whatever city you're trying to rank in. Okay, that really matters a lot. Number 2 is reviews. Okay, you need to really try to generate as many reviews as a top competitor. So this is a very competitive keyword, but when you look at this, you want to basically get a median review count of the top 3. So looking at this, you're going to be anywhere between 400 to 500 reviews. And honestly, if you really wanted to rank, you'd have to probably exceed the quantity of reviews that these competitors have. Okay, so if you were just starting out, this would be a big mountain to climb, and you might be better off trying some other methods in the meantime while you build up your review count, because you're just not going to be able to beat these competitors here at this level with only a few reviews. Okay, so if you get the location right, you get the reviews right, that's probably about 50% of the work. And then after that, everything else that I've showed you in this video, as far as the other ranking factors for traditional SEO, will be applicable here as well. Okay, you need to build site authority, you need to build topic authority through content and building that localized topic authority. And then of course, there's some other little tactics we can use to improve performance. As you can tell, looking at these top 3 results, they're very optimized. Okay, they're putting personal injury lawyers. This one's got personal injury lawyers St. Louis in the actual title of the business, which is very risky. That could definitely get you penalized. And so this is a dangerous game to play, but it clearly works. And then obviously personal injury lawyers here again, and then personal injury lawyers St. Louis. So, people are playing a pretty aggressive game here. And, but this is kind of, you gotta measure the risk versus reward ratio. And in this case, they seem to believe that the risk is worth the reward. Okay. And so it's working. And so, you got to kind of try to figure that out and figure out what your risk tolerance is. But aside from that, there really isn't a whole lot of other things that are going to move the needle. Of course, making sure your citations are consistent, that's all good stuff, but it's really, really micro. What matters a lot is just your location, your reviews, traditional ranking factors, just for traditional SEO. And then, of course, you could test various tactics as far as actually being a little more aggressive with the keyword injection. And now it's time to create a review generation strategy. So go back to your Google business profile, click on the Ask for Reviews option, copy the link, and search free QR code generator on Google. Now create a QR code for your Google business profile review link. You can then add this QR code anywhere to start asking for more reviews. It's critical that you create a cadence and culture for review generation. Don't just rely on passive review generation. Start asking after every job, or help your client build an effective review generation process. It's critical for local pack rankings in Google. Now for week number 4, you'll continue to formulate your review generation strategy and put that into motion. Then you'll need to clean up your local citations and build new citations. And you have many options here, but I recommend starting with the $7 citation audit from Logenix. Then from there, you can either have Logenix clean up the citations manually, which I personally recommend, or you can use a tool like Bright Local or Whitespark. So in week number 5 and 6, you'll create SEO content briefs and create a Kanban board for managing production. Let's start with SEO content briefs. So open up a keyword in Rankability, click on brief, and you can either create it manually or click the AI brief button to fill the fields automatically. Then switch over to the content outline section, and then you can use AI to generate the outline. However, you can also just look at the top competitors and pick and choose headlines for the outline. Then once it's done, you can copy the share link and give it to a writer. They'll have all the details they need to produce a solid asset and be able to write with NLP in mind inside the content optimizer. Then just repeat this content brief generation process for every keyword. Then just go into your favorite project management tool that has a Kanban board functionality. In this example, I'll use Asana.
Okay, so here's just a real quick example that you can use, a kind of template using the Kanban board method. So what you'll do is you'll go ahead and just put a little project in here for each keyword or a task. And so let's just say this is, blue shoes, okay, and it's not assigned. So what you'd want to do is to be able to operate this kind of like a production line. You want to put this over here, and then you would assign this to the person that's going to need to create the content brief. Then they know once they've finished the brief, then it needs to be moved to the next section, which is creating the outline. And you just progressively go through each stage of this process all the way until you get to the publish stage. And this is why it's really important that you create a standard operating procedure or SOP to explain how to not just do the work, but also how to manage the work. You need SOPs for both. Otherwise, you won't be able to do this in a efficient and scalable way. So this has really been the best way that I've seen to be able to manage this. And obviously, as the volume of work grows, you may need to modify this. But for the most part, just keeping it simple and using this board methodology, you're going to be able to just kind of see visually how these projects are progressing over time.
Now, in week number 7, you'll create an SEO content budget and start looking for a VA. To create a budget, you'll need the estimated word count targets for each of your 100 keywords. I recommend pasting your 100 keywords into a Google Sheet and then adding the minimum word count based on what Rankability told you. Keep in mind that word count is not a direct ranking factor, but it's critical for estimating budget. So here are some ballpark estimates for content investment. So if you're using writers, it'll range from 11 cents to 23 cents per word. And if you use a hybrid of AI content and a human editor, it can get as low as 4 cents per word. But your decision to use human or AI content is 100% based on your risk tolerance. But we studied 487 Google search results and found that 83% of the top ranking results are using original content that is written by humans. So the final act of week number 7 is to start looking for a VA. I recommend using Upwork because they'll only get paid when work is completed. Here's a sample job proposal template you can use. And a VA can do almost all the heavy lifting of data entry and management for your SEO campaign. And once you've trained them up, they can do 80% of the hard SEO work. And just as a side note, you get 3 accounts as a member of Gotcha SEO Academy, which means your VA can get certified in our proven SEO processes, which will substantially decrease your workload and allow you to focus on higher impact activities. So in week 8, you should have a VA, and now it's time to start conducting a weekly SEO meeting. As I mentioned before, pick a day of the week and create a recurring event in your calendar. This meeting is critical for measuring campaign success and holding your SEO team accountable. And once your meeting cadence is set up, you'll spend weeks 8 and 9 building your SEO roster. I recommend finding an agency or a roster of specialists who can fulfill the following roles: SEO content writing, design, technical SEO, page speed optimization, and conversion rate optimization. You don't need all of these right away, but the most important one is to build a team of SEO content writers. Now, agencies like Logenix are a good option because they're extremely reliable. However, if you're looking for tier 1 level writing, then you'll need to find some individual writers. I recommend studying the top blogs in your target industry and finding who's writing the content. For example, I found this writer by digging into articles on the New York Times. Come to find out, she also writes for the Washington Post, National Geographic, and Good Housekeeping. These types of writers are premium because they're the best of the best. And in week 10, you'll begin assigning projects to content writers and creating an SOP for managing the SEO content process. Now, the good news is that you already have the foundation set for this with your SEO content briefs and the Kanban board you created. Now, just assign the writing projects based on your allocated monthly budget. Then what I recommend doing is creating a simple video SOP that explains how to manage the SEO content production process. This is training material for your virtual assistant. And then in week 11, continue what you did in the previous week, but now you'll train your VA to manage the SEO content production process. Just be patient and give your VA the freedom to make mistakes. Now, in week number 12, you're going to start by ordering a CRO audit or conversion rate optimization automation audit. Here's one on Fiverr that'll be sufficient, but there are many others you can test. And now it's time to start a Screaming Frog crawl.
Okay, so it's open up Screaming Frog, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and connect all of the APIs. And for this example, you wanna connect the Google Analytics 4 API, Google Search Console, Page Speed Insights, and one of the link analysis tools. So in this case, I'll be using Ahrefs. And you can actually just go up to configuration and then go to the API section. You can connect all of these. And then once they're connected, all you have to do is actually just go ahead and start the crawl.
Now in weeks 13 and 14, you'll focus your efforts on technical SEO.
Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and exported the results from Screaming Frog and put it into this sheet. And then I just froze the top row, and then we're also gonna add a filter up here. And that way we can filter through all of these pages and various data points. Now, there's so much we can do when it comes to a crawl. And that's why I have a dedicated section in Gotcha SEO Academy just for technical SEO. But for now, I want to show you just a few things that are really high impact that you can really take advantage of right away. So the number one thing you should look for is to look at the broad overview of performance on all of your URLs. And this is really, really easy. If we go ahead and just filter out, we'll take out non-indexable. We'll just look at indexable content. And then we'll of course make sure we're only looking at 200 status codes, and then make sure we're only looking at HTML. That way we're not looking at other types of assets. So we're basically just looking at pure pages on your website. All right, now what we wanna do is I'm actually gonna collapse all of these columns, and really all I wanna see is a few kind of data points here. So I'm gonna hide that. I wanna keep word count intact. I wanna keep crawl depth. I wanna keep that in there. I also want to keep unique in links in here. So I'll actually get rid of these as well. And I'm not deleting these columns, by the way. I'm just hiding them so we can kind of focus in on some of this data. Okay, now we're going to hide all of this. And I just want to be able to see pure data, like pure KPIs for these pages, okay? And then you're gonna get a ton of data from Google PageSpeed Insights. Honestly, most of this, it's not really actionable. Really the only column you need is this one, okay? This is really the only column that matters a ton. So you can actually go ahead and just hide all of this. So we'll go ahead and hide it because it really gives you a ton of stuff. So, okay, let's go ahead and hide this. We've got the data from Google Analytics. Okay, so this is all Google Analytics data, and I'll just highlight it so you can see the difference. Google Analytics data, this is Google Search Console data. So we'll go ahead and just put this in orange. And then this is Ahrefs data. All right, so we've got all these different data points, and this will allow us to make some really kind of educated decisions about these URLs. All right, now let's kind of walk through a few of these. So what I like to do is, first thing, let's just see, do we have pages that have really, really low word counts? Let's just begin there, okay? So we'll start with A to Z and just look, like, do we have pages that are really thin? Now, in some situations, a thin page is not always bad, right? Like, for example, we've got some author pages. We've got some dedicated pages for Gotcha SEO Academy alumni. So, these types of pages to me are not bad, right? They're inherently going to be a little thin in nature, and that's okay, because we're not trying to rank these pages. These pages are more for content marketing purposes. They're more for business objectives. So they have utility, they just don't have SEO utility. And that's a really important point. Like, people think that every single page on their site should target a keyword, which actually is not true at all, right? You need to make sure that you're building your site based on what's best for your ideal client, your ideal user. Like, don't just build your site purely for Google. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so but it's a good place to start with these word counts, because occasionally you may find some weaknesses. Next, we're going to look at crawl depth. So go to Z to A. Any page that's more than 3 clicks deep is something we want to investigate. Okay, and so I have quite a bit that are more than 3 clicks deep. Okay, so when we look at this, not so good, right? We've got a lot of pages that need to be pushed further up into the site architecture, okay? And this is 137 pages that need to be pushed up more into the site architecture. So just by fixing this alone, this can actually improve performance on all of these pages that are buried inside the site, right? This is really important. Now, going back to word count, just because I noticed it, there is a situation where sometimes the opposite with word count is something you want to investigate too. So in this case, I've got this URL here that has over 10,000 words, okay? And if we look at this URL, we have to see how it's performing. And if it's not performing super well, then that's an indication that we probably need to break it up, right? And when we look at the data here, it's got 13 visitors, it's 20 views, and we look at the impressions, it's got about 1,000 impressions, 9 clicks. So, it's not doing really that well, and it's old too. So this is probably a situation where I would examine this asset and start to think about, is there a way that we can break this asset up into smaller assets and just try to see if we can extract more traffic out of this by just kind of getting more narrow with some of this stuff on here. Because I think, this page honestly is really, really old. And back in 2015-ish, you used to be able to create really massive assets like this, and that would work. Like you would create the huge asset around a keyword and you would just rank for everything. Those days are long gone. Okay. So just don't even do that. Like it's much better just to build one dedicated asset around a very granular keyword. For example, like this one, SEO for dentists. Okay. Very, very specific asset for a very specific market. And you'll see like this is purely for dentists. Like it's not for anything else. It's purely for dentists. I don't go super deep in every single part, but I go deep enough to fulfill the intent of this keyword. Okay. That's what we're doing. We don't want to go overboard, right? This is, I would say 10,000 words is overboard. That's 3-4 times more than most of my other assets. So this is a situation where I would probably highlight this whole row because I know it's something that needs to be broken up. So that's one thing. Now, next thing is looking at unique inlinks. All right. We want to start A to Z. And these are all pages. These are how many internal links are going to these pages. Okay. So for me, anything less than 5 to me is a situation where I want to start to improve internal link coverage. All right. Now, this is also an indication of a couple other things. First, number one, you can go and just look for opportunities to add internal links on other pages. Okay. That's one thing you can do. But it's also sometimes an indication that we just don't have a lot of topic support, meaning we don't have a lot of other pages that are built to support these assets as far as relevance. Okay. So like HVAC marketing, we probably don't have a whole lot of, HVAC based pages on our site. So you can actually go and just do a quick Google search and you just do a site search for whatever website you're working on. And then just put in like what the broad topic is. Okay. And more often than not, you'll see that there's probably not a whole lot of coverage on this topic. Now, in this case, there is only one asset on our site that targets HVAC, literally just one. Okay. So let's say I wanted to improve the performance of this HVAC marketing page. Well, then what I would do is I would start to build out some supporting assets around this main asset, right? So we might talk about, Facebook ads for HVAC companies or SEO for HVAC. Like we can start to build out these dedicated assets and then we internally link back to this main asset. And as a result, you start to build more topic authority, right? That's the key. You want to build more topic authority in these little small pockets because that's where, the maximum amount of performance will occur. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, you think about just SEO. Like if we do what I'm actually let's call, so-called topic authority on this, you'll see, like, look at how many assets I have that specifically talk about this broad topic of SEO, right? They're all different intents. They're all different ideas. But I talk about SEO a lot, okay? Like it's almost every page is about SEO on my site, okay? So that is true topic authority. But if we did something like, blue shoes, we're not gonna find a whole lot, okay? That's just because I'm not a topic authority on that. You could put any other keyword in there. But for SEO, that is one thing where I have built topic authority, at least within a certain extent, that because I've created so much content on it, right? That's one of the elements of building authority. The other element, of course, is backlink authority.
And now in week 15 and 16, it's time to create localized link bait. There are multiple goals of creating this type of content. First, they're assets that people are likely to link to. And second, they'll create proper localized relevance. Now, the key to executing this content well is, number one, create many assets. The more bait you create, the more backlinks you'll likely get. Number two, make sure it's topically relevant and location relevant. For example, don't create an asset like what is personal injury. While this is relevant on the topic level, it doesn't have localized relevance and it has national intent. Instead, you want to create assets like slip and fall accident stats in Chesterfield, Missouri. This creates proper relevance and acts as a linkable asset. So in weeks 17 through 20, you'll focus 100% on backlink acquisition. For a local campaign, it's best to focus on localized opportunities before moving to national. Start by looking for local donation opportunities, but use the following criteria. Number 1, do they link out? If no, ignore it. Number 2, if they link out, is it followed? Number 3, how much will it cost to land a link? Number 4, is the page indexed in Google? Number 5, has this donation been approved by the client? And now it's time to actually find some opportunities. So I recommend using these search strings to find donation opportunities. Next, make sure you're signed up for the local Chamber of Commerce. You can score an easy link doing this, and it doesn't matter if it's no follow. Lastly, look for niche associations to join by using these search strings. So those are 3 easy ways to get localized backlinks, but you also want to mix in some really powerful, trusted backlinks from highly trusted entities. And that's when search intelligence comes into play. They use a unique strategy that doesn't require creating assets. Instead, you contribute expert insights for other websites, and they pitch a huge list of journalists, and you score powerful backlinks to your homepage. So I'll have a link below this video where you can learn more about search intelligence. So that's how you can do SEO if you only have 1 hour per week. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe for more.